Hello, everyone. My name is Arthur Govin. I'm the Partnership Coordinator at the Next Street Driving School. I'm here on this rainy day to present to you a license testing webinar with, you probably have seen him before. He's been on a bunch of the other webinars. Jeff Smith, who is our license testing manager, he's going to be on to discuss some updates with license testing as well as just answering your questions. We're going to go through it like we always do. If you're new to this, the way it usually works is we have him on and I ask him questions and then he answers them, and then we kind of take questions from the viewers. So we're going to be on for about an hour now taking everyone's questions, so please put them in. If we don't get to them right away, just give it some time. We will try to get to every question. And we're gonna take it from there. So I don't know if you could tell, but I lost my voice a little bit. I was at a I was at a Mets game last night. I might have been yelling a little bit too loud. So but luckily today we have Jeff here. So I'm gonna have him on in just a second to be able to, you don't have to listen to my raspy voice all day. So a couple of things. Obviously, follow us on TikTok, Instagram. We post a lot of good videos. Our TikTok, we're starting to post some really fun content on there. If you haven't already seen, we have some really great tutorials on there of how to back in, how to parallel park, how to pull in. Pretty much any driving maneuver that you can think of, we've covered it. It's a really good tool if you're going through driver's ed right now to just have these short little quick bites. If you want the more detailed versions, you can go on our YouTube, and we have all of them on there. So, yeah, TikTok's a really good resource, and we're really proud of the work that we do on there. Obviously, I didn't do a webinar last week. We were originally supposed to do an Insuring a Teen Driver webinar, but that kind of got pushed, so we're going to be doing that next week or the week after. We're going to be doing that in August, though. So look out for that if you are interested in that. If you're a parent of a new teen driver, or if you're a teen driver that just got their license and you want to know what I have to do with insurance, that's a really good one to come on. We talked to Tanya Bird, who is a partner with us at Smith Brothers, which is an insurance agency that comes and will help a lot of new drivers. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Jeff Smith. Jeff, you're on screen. How you doing? And if you just want to introduce yourself, and then we'll get into the questions and some of the FAQs.
Awesome. Sounds good, Arthur. I'm doing very well, thank you. I'm Jeff Smith, License Testing Manager here at the Next Street. I've been here for about 2013, so it's going on 8 years.
Wow.
And well,
That's crazy. That's really awesome.
Yeah, eight sounds like a lot every time I say it. But it's exciting. I started off as a driving instructor, keep my license just in case. I do get out a few times with the students still, which is always really nice. It's always nice to get on the front lines and again get into the groove of things and see what it's like for the next generation. But it's things are going really well in the testing department, and let's dive into these questions.
Just to give everybody some backstory, I actually started off in the testing department. Jeff hired me,
Yes.
and I owe everything to Jeff. He brought me in, and it was such an awesome opportunity. And being part of the testing department, I learned a lot of our practices, but it really showed how important it is. What I find it really important what we do for the students on test day, and we'll get a little bit more into that later. But we really try to make people comfortable and make the testing process as easy as possible, because that's the last thing you want to have to worry about after going through your whole driver's ed. You've done the whole program. You're at the finish line now. You're obviously nervous. Everyone's a little bit nervous for their road test. So it's good to have that kind of last little push from us, and I always really valued it. So let's get into the questions, and that was just my little my little shout out to the testing department at the Next Street. Jeff does such a good job. So, all right. So we've gathered. We've obviously been doing this for a long time. Jeff's been the manager for a long time. He's gotten a lot of questions that are very commonly asked within the testing department. So we're just going to go through a couple of those just to hit any touch points. And then if we don't answer any, we'll be happy to answer your specific questions. So first thing, so again, you've gone through your whole license testing or your whole, the whole license process. You've done your driver's ed. You've gotten your permit, obviously. You're now ready to test. What do I have to bring to my tests in order to kind of, what do I need?
Absolutely. Great question. We send these emails out just to make sure you are prepared with what you do need. Most everything we can provide for you at the day of the test, except the $84 check made out to the DMV. DMV is up their the initial license to a 7-year license. So the process, I'm going to be jumping around and I apologize, but the process for getting the license through the Next Street is DMV branch free, right? You don't have to deal with the branch at all. It used to be years ago, if you're a parent and have had other daughters and sons go through the program years ago, it would be where you have to go to the DMV after the test, at least to pay and take the picture. That is no longer the case. So this is all inclusive. And when you get there, you'll take the test with an DMV agent. They're assigned, they come out to our locations, use our car. So again, you're using our guaranteed car to pass the inspection. So that's already one box off the checklist that you don't have to worry about.
Yeah.
But that $84 check will be mailed out with the test results to a third party that then prints the license. And you will get that license in the mail 20 days or so later. So you do keep your permit picture. So I hope that doesn't bother any other students out there, but you will, I hope it's a good one, but you will be keeping your permit picture for your license initially anyway. With the test result, right after you pass actually, and this is something again that's come out of COVID, you get a pink slip. Actually, again, you want to look at my screen really quick. You get a slip that looks similar to this.
Nice.
When you pass your test. And this, as long as you keep this with your permit, you have a 30-day temporary license. So in that transition period of when the DMV is getting the paperwork, processing the paperwork, and mailing it out to your house, you can actually leave on test day, having passed your test, with a temporary license. As long as you keep those two things together, that paper and the permit, you are good to go to drive by yourself.
And that's huge because that used to be a pain point where you'd
Yes.
take your license test at our location and then you'd have to go to the DMV to get it afterwards, like your actual physical license. But now, don't have to do that anymore. They send it right to you. So that's really nice.
You can leave that day and drive
You could drive home.
yourself. Again, graduated licensing laws are another thing you still have to abide by. But
Yes, of course.
Certainly drive by yourself after that. So circling back to what you need to bring with you, the $84 check made out to the DMV.
Okay.
Cannot take cash or card. It has to be a check or money order. Then, of course, we have the testing application, the CI-12 testing application that we email out to you. It's just the very first section. It does ask for address, name, address, date of birth, things like that. It does ask for the social security number, so you do have to put that on there. Or again, if you want to wait until filling that part out when you get to the location, that's fine too. But it is required on that form. If you are 16 or 17-year-olds, 16 or 17-year-old taking the test, there are 2 spots on that form that require a parent's signature. One for the parental consent, which is at the very bottom of section 1, and then in fact, a lot of people leave this blank and totally understandable. It says signature of instructor. If you read all the way out to the left, it's for home training. So we give you, actually now it's a digital certificate. DMV's caught up with the times, and we're transitioning now to a digital certificate, which makes things a lot easier. There's no other hard copy paper that you have to keep clean and uncrinkled and with you at all times on your way to the test. It's all digital. DMV will have that. We'll process that at the office, have that for you. The DMV will have it on their tablet on the day of the test. So that is really, really great. That will show what we have done with the student. The signature of instructor on the application is for a parent with their license number showing what, or proving that they've done driving at home with that driving licensed driver. Besides those two things, obviously that you need the permit. Please do not forget the permit. You lose the permit, you cannot take the test. So please get a DMV may be able to give you another paper permit with a new expiration date. Obviously, when you first get your permit, you leave the DMV with a paper copy. That does have an expiration date on it, and you do have to abide by that expiration date. But yeah, please, that permit you will not be able to test without. And then, of course, closed-toed shoes. We don't like to mess around with sandals or flip-flops or anything like that. That's the last thing you want to worry about. And then the glasses or contacts. Please, again, DMV is not perfect. We have heard of them making a few mistakes. Well, a lot of mistakes, but in this regard, a few mistakes with having the back of the permit say, needing contacts or glasses. So
Yeah.
even if you think you're all set, just flip over that permit, just double check, make sure. I believe it's Class B license that has no restrictions on it, and then you'll be good to go. If you have that restriction, again, just bring your contacts or glasses to the test, and that certainly won't be a problem.
So that was the testing application. Your permit
Yes.
will provide your CS1, which is your completion certificate, correct?
Yes. Yes.
And then closed-toed shoes, glasses or contacts if needed.
Yeah.
That's it?
The application, yeah, that's about it.
All right. Yeah. So it's always good to, if you're ever worried, obviously, ahead of time, we do send out emails that tell you everything that you need to bring. You're not going to be blindsided by anything. And we do provide, like I just said, the certificate of completion for doing the driver's education, which is known as the CS1. And then also, if for whatever reason you lose your application, your what is it, C12?
Yes. C12.
If you lose the C12 form, of course, like we have an extra one that you can fill out
exactly.
at that time.
But I did forget one thing though, Arthur. Sorry to.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, the photocopy of your permit that'll also be on the email out for you to bring with you.
Yeah.
DMV just likes to confirm the identity of having the picture of the permit of the student testing. So when we do send everything out, they can just match up the face with what they're putting on the license for when they create it and mail it out. So I am sorry. There's that one other thing. Just a photocopy. Doesn't have to be in color.
Yeah.
A black and white photocopy of your permit as well.
Okay. And then, we actually just got a question. This is a good one. So you've gotten there, you brought all your stuff, you're ready to go. How long does the road test usually take? Either at our location or at the DMV? Because there's a slight difference in average, But if you were to test at our location, how long does it generally take?
I would say and again, we have different DMV agents that come out and they all do different routes and different times, but typically it's about 15 minutes, and it's that quick because there is no vehicle inspection. The very first student of the day might have to get out and do a vehicle inspection, but it's more like, let's just check the lights and make sure everything's good to go. It's not getting on your hands and knees. It's not looking under the car, just walking around the car. It's nothing like that. DMV agent will be doing that as you're sitting in the driver's seat, hitting the left blinker, right blinker, brake lights, reverse, and then your headlights, and then you're good to go, right? But that, again, doesn't usually happen. We do that at the very beginning of the day to make sure the car is, again, good to go and ready to pass the test. The DMV agent just may ask the very first student of the day to flick on a few lights. So that process for everyone else that day is, again, a huge check mark on the evaluation sheet.
Yeah, I mean, I know that's a big reason why when people go to the DMV and they use their own cars, why they end up not being able to test. I would say that's the biggest reason why people can't test is because their cars don't pass inspection, and they're very strict with the way they enforce things, whether it's the tints on the windows, which you can't have any tint, even a slight tint, or any little thing that they can find on your car, which in one way it might seem frustrating in the DMV being the DMV, but you also have to understand from their perspective, They're getting in a stranger's car. They have no idea how good you are at driving, and they don't have a brake on their side. So that's another really nice thing about testing at our location. Um, it does give the DMV agent a little bit of peace of mind to know that they do have a brake just in case there was any sort of emergency. And I mean, just thinking from my perspective, if I was testing someone, I would like to have a brake. Even as an instructor, when I've done, when I was an instructor, having that break is definitely a nice comfort. But
Yeah, the DMV agents love coming out and testing in our cars for that very reason. They
yeah,
do. They're happy to be here with us. They do want to see you pass. I'm happy to say we've built
yes,
a relationship with the DMV agents we see come out to our locations, and they are all very nice people. Some are a bit more chatty than others. Others might just still be, hey, you ready? Let's get out there. Others be like, hey, introduce yourself and everything else like that. They're very chatty. Others are pretty much strict and to the point. But again, that's not anything to be intimidated by. They just want to have you pass and get on to the next student. Um, there is you again the DMV. If you look up the what needs to be um, how your car would pass vehicle inspection, it is very vague on the DMV website for the purpose that DMV agents can be very specific when it comes down to why they would deny your car after checking its
yeah,
eligibility for the car itself. We've had plenty of parents, take brand new cars off the dealership lot and then have the DMV tell them that their tints are too dark.
yeah,
And it's confusing why it's good for a dealership who's selling a car in the state of Connecticut, yet the DMV itself won't take that same car. So I can't tell you why, but if your front two windows, passenger and driver side windows, are tinted, I think it's over 13%. And they have a little device that will obviously just give them a number and tell them if it's too dark or not. But that would be something that they could easily just look at and point and turn around.
yeah.
Check
Oh,
engine lights too. Check engine lights and any red or yellow warning lights on in the car should be taken care of before getting there. So if you have a check engine light on, again, it's easy to put that aside. But if you plan on testing at the DMV, then it's not going to pass inspection.
yeah, for sure. And that is also another service that we do offer is to meet you at the DMV so that you can use our car. So if you're ever concerned or you just don't have access to a car, and for whatever reason, you just maybe you live really close to the DMV and it's just a little bit more convenient for you, we can come out. You can use our car to ensure that it'll pass inspection. You're not going to have to worry about it. Um, and you'll be good to go. So that is just another option just in case.
Yeah, there is. This brings up the point of the age restriction that there is, and
Yes, that's another reason. Go
I've
ahead.
never been able to get a straight answer. A lot of people at D&D don't know why this is in place, but there is. If you are 22 years and older, you have to take your test at the DMV. If you're 16 to 21, you can sign up with us to take it at our location, which is again much more inclusive and accommodating versus having to go to the DMV. And I want to give DMV credit where it's due. Like their appointment schedules now that they've done what they're doing with that, the timing does make things a lot less crowded, a lot less nerve wracking, but it's still rare to see them running on time for their tests.
Yeah, that's definitely something that when you test at our location, we are just running tests there that day. We have one agent. It's, the agent usually stays in the car while the student changes in and out. Whereas at the DMV, the agent has to get out of the car. They have to go back. They have to do the paperwork. They have to come back out. It's a lot more of an intensive process. So, it definitely runs more on time. But
Yes.
like you said, the DMV definitely has made improvements with how crowded it is for sure. So, okay, let me go through this. So, so we went over how long a test is, and then, we've gotten everything we need to have. We've taken our 15-minute test. Unfortunately, we you know, might not have done it this time.
Stop sign.
Yeah. So, what are some of the most common ways that people What are the most common reasons why people don't pass their test?
Um, I have a top three. An honorable mention is the parking
Okay.
brake and emergency brake. So please make sure we do our best to obviously teach that in class and in every lesson that we teach with students. But please at home also remember that it is illegal not to engage the parking brake whenever the car's in park. So the DMV is looking for that when you first get into the car. It is already going to be in park. You have to remember to release that parking brake and then use it during the parking maneuver and at the very end of the test as well. So that is, again, you get into any one of our cars, especially for the test, every time it's going to be up, we have the hand crank in the middle console in between
Mm.
the passenger and driver. It'll be up. You will see red brake lights in the dashboard, and you have to take care of everything that's red and yellow on the dashboard before you get going anyway. So that's just another reminder that, oh, yes, the parking brake's on. We've had plenty of students, and not plenty, but a few students here and there, and it always happens just once or twice a month or so. But it is something where it's like car's dragging, it's now beeping at you. Again,
Yeah.
these DV agents are on your side. They won't give you any instructions on how to do anything, just directions. You have to prove to them that you know how to do everything already. So, but a lot of them are like, "What's that beeping? Is that my seatbelt? No, it's not my seatbelt. What could that be? Is that you? Is that somebody else?" Like they just want to hit
Yeah,
you
they
up.
try to give you a chance.
Yeah,
You
they
know.
really do. And then if you end up we've had students tell the DMV agents, "No, that's not my car. That's not me." And it's like, okay. And then they
Yeah.
leave the parking lot, and that's game over, unfortunately.
Yeah. If you're.
So that again, I just want to make very clear that the parking brake is a huge. It's very very important. Obviously, it's illegal not to use, as I mentioned, but it's something that we want to make sure. I understand that it may not be used at home too much, but that is something that you're going to want to remember for your test.
And
Uh,
I personally say get used to using it.
yeah,
It's
you
something
should.
that
You
you
should.
should use, but I will give some students some credit because their parking brake might be at their foot or it might be a button now. So if
Yeah,
you test in our cars, it's always the crank on the side, in the center console. But if you do test at the DMV, whatever it is, and you use your parking brake when you get in or when you get out of your car, when you get back into test, make sure that the parking brake is released and that you're good to go. And that's another thing too. Easy way to prevent that from happening before you go out, give a scan of your dashboard, look
yeah,
at all the lights. There will be the dashboard light on for your parking brake, so just give a little scan. If there's no lights on, you're good to go. If you see the little P with the brackets, then you know that
yes.
that the brake is up. So
We'll get into, again, we have somebody there that has this as part of their script to talk to you about. So
yeah.
we mentioned the e-brake before every test, but yeah, it's still, there's a lot going on, and obviously it is a pressure-filled 15-minute test. So we get that, only practice makes perfect. So we get the idea if you end up forgetting, but it won't be the case if you practiced it up, leading up to your test. But let's go back to the three main reasons, at least, why students end up coming back for another retest
Sure.
or for another test. Um, Too fast and too slow, right? We have had um, over the speed limit at all is illegal and not allowed on the test. So I don't know. Again, some people have been told 5 over is fine. That is not the case on your test. The DMV is looking for you to see and scan ahead for those speed limit signs. And if weather permitting and traffic permitting, you have to stay up at those speeds. They want to see that you have that muscle memory and that control over the car in order to keep it right at. If you accidentally go one or two over, again, they're not looking at that in order to fail you. If you go, if you're staying there within, just under one or two or maybe three, but that's even pushing it for being too slow. If you're 4 or 5 under, we've had students fail for going too slow. Everybody who's had a driver's license know that 20 and a 20, 25 is already kind of slow depending on the neighborhood. But given that that's the default speed limit, if you can't find any speed limits at the moment, DMV doesn't want you going 20 and a 25. They want to know that you know the default setting or that you've seen the speed limit sign at 25 and go to 25. If you're obviously following somebody and need that 3-second following distance, then you have no choice but to follow the speed of traffic. If it's severe rain, snow, and sleet, then yes, you have to adjust for that as well. Don't feel as if you have to go. I know the book says 10 under the speed limit if raining. If it's a drizzle, if it's misting, if the roads are barely wet, again, they're looking at for you to stay close to that speed limit.
Yeah.
Speed limit is maximum speed you can go in ideal conditions. So if it's not ideal, then yes, you want to back off a little bit. Maybe not exactly 10 less if it's just a sprinkle or raining outside, where it won't cause hydroplaning or accidents. You do want to increase your following distance now if that's the case, but I'm getting way off topic. Um, so going too fast or too slow is one of the reasons that we see a lot of students. Again, too fast is way too easy for the DMV agent just to say, hey, why don't we turn the car?
Yeah.
Like you've seen the speed limit sign, you're scanning ahead for that, you've decided to, disregard that speed limit, and it shows that you're not ready for your license. Again, same thing with going too slow. You may be thinking that you're being cautious and safe, but DMV needs to know that you're not impeding traffic for any reason and can stay at the speed limit if known. Show them that you've seen the speed limit sign, first of all, and then show that you can stay at that speed limit sign as well.
And it shows too, with going too slow, sometimes it can show that maybe you're not very comfortable yet with driving. And you're at that point where it's like you know what you're doing, but to the DMV agent, if you're going or if you're going 6, 7 under, and it's perfect conditions, then it shows them that maybe they're not quite ready to have their license yet because they're obviously not comfortable.
Yeah, they are looking at your confidence level. Really good point, Arthur. They are. Again, 15 minutes is not a whole lot of time, and they are trying to evaluate you the best they can. Everything you do is being judged, and that's why it's, again, we get the nerves, we get it, we get why that on test day it's like you want someone there to talk to, you want somebody there to, again, remind you of the little things that are going to be looked at by this DMV agent, and we're there to do that for you on test day. But that is a really good point, Arthur. You do want to show that confidence that you've been practicing for 40 plus hours at home, or with us as well. And again, that will come out on your driver's test if you're ready. If you've done it and you're confident, know you're good to go. The DMV agent will see that also.
Okay, so that's one.
That's one. Rolling through stop signs or right on reds. And so we see it a lot in our day to day. It's likely because of that, some parents just do it without maybe even knowing. And of course, throughout the whole life of your child leading up to this point, they've seen you do that. And it's a hard habit to break, if not immediately squashed when the student gets their permit. But that is something that, again, you're so nervous, you're thinking about a million different things. A stop sign, a four-way stop sign where nobody is near you, why not just roll through it? And obviously that is, again, a really easy, okay, let's turn the car around for the DMV agent. So full stop, foot thick white stop line, obviously, full 3 count at 0 miles an hour, right? And that's what they're going to be looking for on that, at that stop sign. On your test, you're guaranteed to hit a stop sign and a traffic light. So with those things, rolling through a stop sign, even though you think and know it's safe to go, you have to show that you can obey the rules of the road and obey traffic signs and signals as well. Same thing with turning right on red. We've had, quick example of what it looks like on a test for a student. 3 cars out from the traffic light, right? 3 cars in front of you on your test. Every one of those cars in front of you is just simply rolling right through red. It's legal to do so. Well, not roll through it, but it's legal to turn right on red. And so every car is rolling up, looking, making sure it's safe and doing it. And the student follows right in suit, does the exact same thing, rolls up, makes sure it's safe by looking, but never does that stop behind that white line and for the 3 count before even attempting that. And Arthur, this is where you say what you say about.
Yeah. Well, so what I always said when I was doing testing, don't turn right on red.
Yeah.
Just don't do it. It gives the DMV another thing that they're testing you on, that you don't have to do it. You can just stay. And I understand the pressure because maybe someone's behind you honking, but that's their problem. And the DMV is not going to be mad at you for doing the safe thing and just staying until you get that green light. And so That's my thought. If you don't have to go, just don't go. You
Yeah,
know.
and again, 99% of the company agrees with you, Arthur. On your road test, it may just be easier just not to turn right on red. I just can't.
I
If you know,
understand.
if you know what you're doing, feel free to do that. I
Yes.
I just have a hard time saying don't do it on your test. But obviously, they can't. It's not a requirement. Again, please do not. Again, I'm talking to the parents now, and the future drivers as well. Please don't honk at somebody that chooses not to
Yeah.
turn red on red.
And
It's very
especially if they're in a student driver car,
well,
like,
yeah,
come on.
that especially. I'm saying in general, it's very rude, and
Yes,
again, for
right.
whatever reason, you don't know why that person is not turning red on red. It may just inconvenience you for a few more seconds, but please don't honk at anybody. Be polite
Yeah,
and leave your
I live
turn.
in Stanford now, and you can't sit at a light that you can maybe turn. Even if it says no turn on red, they still honk. It's crazy. People are tough. So just be a little bit more compassionate and
Yeah,
understanding, and
please.
know that it's literally going to save you maybe a second. Chances are you're probably going to get stuck at the next light anyway. So
Yeah,
just give it some time,
yeah,
and understand that everyone has different comfort levels, and you might not see something that they see, and that
exactly.
happens a lot too.
Exactly.
Where
Yes.
especially with a more busy area, there's crosswalks, and someone behind you might not see that there's someone crossing. So just
Absolutely.
hold your horses, and yeah, again, if you do want to make that right on red, it gives you a chance to prove that you are really comfortable driving and everything. But
But treat
treat it like a stop sign. Do
yes,
it the right way, and
yes,
stop
like a stop
fully
sign.
behind the line. Inch forward to get that better view, and then make your turn when you're ready. So we got rolling through reds and stop signs. We have going too fast, too slow. We have parking brake, and then what's next? What's the other main reason?
And this is probably the biggest one, which is
Oh,
navigating intersections.
okay.
So, and I'm not talking. I'm talking traffic light intersections, right? Not four-way stops or
Yep.
two-way stops, but uh, traffic light intersections, especially turning left. And I think everybody can relate to this a little bit. It is different every time. There is
Yeah.
going to be that gap, and you do have to show the DMV agent that you can make the time. You can anticipate, make the turn in time with that gap, or again, make sure that you know not to turn given a small gap and likely cut off another car. But anytime the DMV agent has to touch the wheel, grab it in case of an emergency, or obviously touch their brake on their side, again, the test is over. So you do want to make sure that you're making smart, clean decisions with those left turns at intersections. Blocking the box, I hope, sounds familiar to everyone. It's obviously where you
Definitely
green
familiar
light.
if you've taken any of our classes. So.
That's true. Real quick review of that.
Yeah.
If you get the green left turn, right, you're at the intersection, planning to take a left turn, you get the green light. Obviously, without an arrow, oncoming traffic has a green light too. So you get into the middle of the intersection, stop, and are waiting. That is blocking the box, and that is illegal, highly illegal, right? There's plenty of reasons why you wouldn't want to just be sitting in the intersection with no hope of knowing when you'll have that gap in oncoming traffic to make that left-hand turn. So but we do want to teach anticipation. You get that green light, but sit still behind that white line at the intersection in your left-hand turn lane, waiting to turn left. But when you see that gap coming, when you see that final car coming, meet them out into the middle of the intersection. The middle of the intersection is where you have to take that turn. We don't want to teach students to turn left from their stop line. That's how you cut off corners, right? That's how you cut off other people's corners when you take that left turn. Enter into the intersection straight, at least for a little while, and then make more of a 90-degree left-hand turn in order not to cut off anybody else's corner. Please do not be a lazy driver, right? Students, call out your parents. Parents, call out your kids. If you just see them cutting corners, cutting off lanes, it sets a bad example. So again, get out into the intersection, anticipate, and make that turn to keep rolling. What's illegal about blocking the box is stopping in the intersection. If
Exactly.
you're rolling and you have that, and again, it's obvious that you're timing it and making that left-hand turn after that last car, perfect. That's exactly how we want to do left turns. Left turns are pretty tricky, and again, there's plenty of time to go out and practice. The state requires 40 hours of behind the wheel training combined with the driving school with us if you decide to do that, and then of course at home before you take the test. So you do want to practice plenty of those left turns, seeing what it's like when gauging oncoming traffic and the speed they're coming at and making those left turns. But that is, we do get a few people who are, again, just really not comfortable, not confident, end up taking that turn way too slow. And if the DMV agent is panicking, they're going to be the first ones hit if something
Of
comes out
course.
that way. So they're panicking. They're either going to stop you early if they don't think you're going to make it on time, or grab the wheel to turn you out of the way. So you have to be confident, make smart decisions, obviously, always. But regarding the left-hand turn, it does depend on oncoming traffic. If you have a green arrow, you are good to go. Either it's a right or left if you're in that lane with that arrow. Obviously, that gives you the right of way. Also, if that green arrow is accompanied by a red light, again, you're good. If that is your lane that you're in and that arrow is pointing you in that direction for taking a right turn only or taking a left turn only, then yes, you can go without stopping. But again, I digress.
So, main reasons why people fail their test, it was parking brake, keeping the parking brake engaged while they're driving, um, uh, going too fast or too slow. Try to just stay at that speed limit, and a couple miles up and down is fine, but stay in that range. And then uh, rolling through stop signs and right on red, and then navigating those intersections, especially left-hand turns. Don't block the box. Make sure that you are waiting behind that line until you get a gap where you can make that turn, and
Yes.
just make the turn. So, get comfortable with that. Go to so. What are some tips that you can give a student? So a student decides that they're testing at our Watertown location, for example. What are some tips that you can give them to prepare for that test? Like, do we have any resources? Do we have anything that we can? Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. The biggest piece of advice, if you're testing with us, we do have practice routes that we can email you. That's just a bird's eye view of a radius that we can give suggestions on going to get familiar with that area. It is not a guaranteed testing route. It is not guaranteed by any means of what our students will see on their test. Hopefully, it's a little harder, actually, but given that it's a radius, um, you want to get familiar with those areas. I'm happy to say there's not too many tricky spots around any of our locations. There are some on main roads, but once you get
Mm-hmm.
out onto the main road and possibly a lane change, a lot of ours don't even have lane changes within a 5 mile radius. But get out to that location no matter what it is, where it is, if you even whatever DMV that you may be testing at, go there prior to your test. And I'm not just talking the day before to figure this all out the day of. Go there prior to the day of
Like
your test.
weeks before, like
Yeah,
if you can.
exactly. And get familiar with the area. Again, DMVs are close. DMV branches on purpose are close to highways. There could be a highway on certain DMV tests. Um, there's also a lot of train tracks by DMV branches and things like that you just want to be cautious of, and at least know where they are. School zones, same thing like that. We provide all of that in our practice routes for if you decide to test at one of our satellite locations,
Yeah.
which we have 20 active locations that you can choose to test at with TNS around the state.
So get those practice routes if you're uh, testing with us, and even if you don't get those, drive around the area that you're going to be testing. Familiarize yourself with the area. If you're lucky enough to be able to get a lesson in that area, that's even better. If you can get a lesson out of the location that you're testing at, that's ideal. That way you can really familiarize yourself. Generally, the driving instructor at that location will have some familiarity with the tricky spots too. So, you know, um, if you do if you don't get those testing routes that we have, those places, those tricky areas, the places that we look at to just make sure you're familiar with, try to just drive around the area.
Yeah.
So, okay, so what what separates testing at, I mean, I definitely know the answer, but what separates testing at the DMV to testing at our location? What are some of the key differences with that? I know
Yes.
we've touched on a few of them,
Yeah.
but especially getting to, the idea of having someone there. So if you could talk about that.
Yeah, just to review the ones we touched on first, the car's guaranteed to pass inspection. It is a TNS car, so if you sign up to test with us at the next street, you will not need to bring or use your car, right? We
Yeah.
do get that question occasionally, and it's not like we have a car. It's guaranteed to pass inspection. We'll have it there for you to use. And still, with the procedures and protocols that we have in place, we will be wiping it down in between every student. So
And
that
it's
is
the
still,
car it's the car you did your lesson in too. So
it could be, yes. We do have about
well, but
six or seven,
it's a
six,
similar size generally.
yes, 6 or 7 different model cars in our entire fleet. Um, but yes, it will not be. We have four, I think about six or so Ford EcoSports
Yeah, the
out
little the
there.
little mini
There might
SUVs.
those are like
Yeah,
mini SUVs, which again still shares a similar size to our midsize sedans.
definitely.
But again, it will be a midsize sedan that you will be taking your test in if you decide to sign up with the next street. So again, 1 out of the 4 sections on your evaluation sheet, the car vehicle inspection is already checked off and ready to go. So that's one thing that you don't have to worry about at all. We talked about the paperwork and what's available, what you would need to bring to the test, and what we have there for you. We keep to a rigid schedule as best we can. Again, I can't. There's no guarantee that we schedule it out every 15 minutes because that's the average. There are a few DMV agents that go a little bit long and may take a break halfway through, a longer break, and we really can't say anything about that. And
Right.
may cause a little bit of a delay by the end of the test, but we do a much better job than what the DMV has available with their scheduling now. From what we hear back about students that have gone to the DMV, we send people there, like Arthur mentioned, to use our car, and they're waiting. We hear about the wait times. That's what I'm basing that
Yeah.
comment on. So we do
I've
hear
been
about
I've been there, I've been
yeah.
one of those people waiting. So,
What
um
we
yeah,
yeah
go ahead.
what we've hinted at before was actually probably one of the best things possible at the satellite location for test at the next street, which is a veteran testing host. What I hired Arthur for
Yeah.
when he first came on board. So those people are very knowledgeable. This is what they do day in and day out, and again, they're the ones who build the relationship with the DMV agents. They can tell you a little bit about them. Again, if it's a little bit more of a talker or if it's a little bit more by the books DMV agent, we'll give you that heads up on the way on during your sign in. We do need you to come about 15 minutes early to sign in, and we can explain all this and talk to you about everything in those 15 minutes leading up to your test time. They are knowledgeable about what has happened so far that day, and that's probably the most valuable information for a student who's a bit nervous. Every student before, and again, DMV agents can change up the route however they want, whenever they want, right? It's not written in stone. We likely see the same thing happen day in and day out. Sometimes they do K-turns, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's a particular parking maneuver, sometimes they can switch it up. Those kind of things, though, we usually see a pattern and are able to at least settle the student by telling them, like, hey, this is what's been asked of everybody so far today.
Chances are you're gonna get something similar.
Yes, chances are. We never say never, but again, chances are they're going to follow the same suit if they've been doing that the entire day. But don't have that throw you off, right? If they're there to see you pass, but we have the host there that, again, incredibly knowledgeable. Will talk you through what maneuvers are possible on the test or what you might be nervous about. So it's a sounding board for a wealth of knowledge going into again what most people are pretty nervous about, and understandably so.
Yeah, and I know that, you know, we just how prepared we were with the understanding of, just saying the language that, you've heard in your lessons and understanding that we know what you've been taught and we know how to kind of reiterate some of those main points. We know what's the tests are mostly like, so we can tell you and give you some really good insight. And yeah, I mean, it's also just it's a friendly face. It's someone who's on your side, who's there to
Absolutely.
answer your
Yeah.
questions, and just they're totally with you. There's no, because the DMV agent, yes, they don't want you to fail, but they don't. But they're not going to be able to answer any questions for you. So
Yeah.
having someone who can kind of give you that little prep right beforehand is nice, and also just
Absolutely.
not having to be in the, like you said, it's a little bit better, but not having to be in that hectic area of the
Yeah.
DMV
Yeah.
is definitely comforting.
And now everything is taken care of outside of the DMV, which is nice too. So
Right.
I'm sure a lot of the parents over there, if they never had to go to the DMV again, would be extremely happy. So
Yeah.
there's just one more way that we can take care of everything outside of the DMV for you.
All right. So okay, we have a couple more things, and then I think we're gonna pretty much wrap it up. We've kind of covered everything here with what you need to bring. What are some of the things that are going to be asked of you on the test? What are some of the main reasons why people maybe not pass? And why testing at any, whether it's us at the next street or any driving school, it is nice to test at the driving school locations over going to the DMV in a lot of cases. Um, so definitely just keep that in mind when if you're, especially if you're particularly nervous for your test, it's it's a nice environment, and it's worth it to not have to get that little bit of a friendly environment if it makes it so you feel a little bit more comfortable to pass.
Absolutely. And what I'm about to say is not meant to scare anybody off from testing at the DMV. The DMV, again, including the vehicle inspection test, usually the test itself usually takes a little bit longer. And we do see much more parallel parking and highway driving. Not much more, but there are those DMVs that lead themselves to just having that highway right next to the branch itself, which is just why we hear of students. Again, we know this by bringing students and meeting them at the DMV, and this is the feedback we get, is that some DMVs do highway driving, and they have it set up in their parking lot for parallel parking. That, again, I can never say never, but we don't typically see that at all on our next street tests.
Yeah.
Either one of those two, anyway. And again, please don't. That's not a. That doesn't mean don't practice those and come to one of our tests, right?
Of course.
Please practice everything. Be the best driver you possibly can be, and that includes nighttime driving, driving in the rain and in the snow, and on the highway and in the city, and all of that together, right? You practice all of those things. Right?
And if you do all the lessons with us anyway, you're going to be going through all these types of different maneuvers and, getting you prepared because, if I couldn't parallel park, I couldn't live in Stanford. So, if you want to live in anywhere that has parallel parking, which is more and more places now, you got to be ready for that. So, and hey, we have a great TikTok for that. So the next street, follow the next street on TikTok, and you'll be able to do any maneuver you want. We break it down really simply. So, the last thing that I kind of wanted to address a little bit was the license test availability. So our availability, the DMV's availability in general, and kind of the state of things with the DMV when it comes to testing. And no one knows it better than you, Jeff. So
Yeah.
if you wanted to just touch on a little bit and kind of talk on that for a minute or two, that'd be great.
Absolutely. The DMV agents that we have come out to our satellite locations they're a separate unit from the DMV themselves. So they're actually not DMV agents that you would see at the branch. And the people that we deal with in this particular unit are very lovely people, and again, very happy to have the relationship we do with them. That being said, the entire DMV, including this unit, is dealing with quite the documented and continuing staff shortage that we've seen for quite some time. We've put in requests for Q4. We have not gotten all of what we've expected as far as these tests. The way we ask DMV for these tests, and we go back and forth with who they can send out where into what location. So with getting back significantly less amount of tests than we thought when we're expecting on a regular, as preceding years would have led us to believe. this is true for all driving schools and all branches as well. There's been quite a few days that, again, sometimes those delays at the branch, I hear back from our people that we send out there that they only had two DMV agents today, and that's why I had to wait 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's really, really tough. Right now, we are actually booking out. I'm hoping to open up more tests soon, but we are booking out until the end of October already. If you are a new student with us, please be proactive. And if this is something that you want to do and test with us, please sign up as soon as you can. Do not wait until you're done after classes, or you'll be waiting months to test.
Yeah, book it when you book your lessons.
Yes.
And even it, have that date, and if you get to that time and maybe you don't feel 100% prepared, you can kind of assess it from there, but get the date at least.
You can always move. You can always move it, right? You can always move it back. Anyway.
Exactly. And again, this is a DMV statewide problem where we're booking out to the end of October. So is the DMV at every branch. So, just be prepared for that. Whether you test with us, you test with the DMV, make sure you book that test early.
Yeah. Early.
That way, you're not worrying about it when it gets to that time, and you can get your license as fast as you can.
Yeah, time it right.
Yeah.
Okay, book it as soon as you can.
Any other things that you wanted to talk on or touch on? Any last minute little tips or anything that you have?
No, I think we touched on the biggest tip is practice where you're testing. That's the biggest. Obviously, get your 40 hours, right? Get 40 plus hours behind the wheel. Get, like any instrument, it's practice makes perfect.
Exactly.
If these things are coming second nature to you, by the time you take your test, the DMV agent will notice that. They do this for a living. They can see if you've only had 10, 12, 15 hours behind the wheel. It will absolutely show.
They can see it quick.
Yes, they can.
And again, so just like with Jeff used instrument for an example, where it's like we can teach you in the 8 hours that we have you. If you do our full course, the 8 hours that we have you, we can teach you everything that you're going to need. But it's up to you and the parents and the students at home to practice it, get comfortable with it, repeat it. And my best advice is to do it. It's about quantity rather than like do it for 20 minutes a day. You go back and forth to the grocery store. You don't always have to make it so it's a 3-hour block on a Saturday and then you don't practice again for 2 weeks. Just do it as often as you can, getting into that car, getting into the rhythm, getting that muscle memory down. When it comes to turns especially, and braking and accelerating, those things just take time. So just practice makes perfect, and don't skimp on the hours. Don't skimp on the hours at all.
Arthur, you bring up a great point, and I just want to add, when booking your lessons as well, do not book them back to back. Have plenty of time in between. It is really a waste if you don't practice at all in between these lessons. And we're just going to review in this new lesson what we went over before, more so because we know you haven't practiced in between. Give it plenty of time in between lessons for you to get out and practice exactly what we taught on those lessons, so we can just review in a few minutes, not the whole lesson, and move on to the more complex maneuvers that every lesson allows you.
And right now our lesson availability is basically back to normal, so it's not as crazy for you to have to book them all at the same time whenever you can get them. So book those lessons, spread them out over the time that you're doing the program, or over your 4 months before you can get your license, and take your time with them. Practice the things after you do them, like Jeff just said. So all right, I think that pretty much does it for us. Thank you so much, as always, Jeff, for coming on and bringing your insight. No one knows license testing better than you, I think, on the planet. So, there's no better person we could talk to.
Thank you very much, Arthur.
And if you missed any of this, you can always just the video is going to be up immediately on YouTube and Facebook right after this, so you can go back and watch any bit of it that you missed. And we also have highlights on all of our social media pages. And again, thank you so much, Jeff. We'll be seeing you next month. We'll have you on again, probably about 4 to 6 weeks from now. And book your license tests. That's what we have to say. That's kind of the end of that. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Arthur. Thank you.